Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. Super pumped. Happy to have you all here. I'm your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, performance enhancement expert, and author, Sean Douglas. This show is heard in over 40 countries, such as the U.S., Brazil, India, Canada, France, Australia, Panama, Belgium. So thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight those transformational moments that have changed our lives and how we are using these to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us every Wednesday and on the first and third Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go ahead and join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio Community. Join us right on Facebook and never miss an episode. On this show, I have impactful and amazing guests that are impacting everyone around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for the guests, you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, this is a live show. If you're listening to us live, 657-383-1109. So it was my honor to introduce Michael Neeley. What's up, buddy?
Hey, doing well, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
Man, I'm super pumped, man. So we met at Steve Olsher's event, New Media Summit, last September in San Diego. And I always see your podcast when I'm searching for, like, maybe I made the top 100 today. Nope, Michael Neeley is on it. Like, between you and Bruce and a couple of the other guys, like, you guys are always there, like top 100, top 200. Like, you guys are just crushing it. So just want everybody to know that if you want to see Michael Neeley's podcast, it's not hard to find. Go find it on iTunes because he's on the top 200 every day.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
So, man, I am, like I said, super pumped and cannot wait to dig into what we're going to dig into, man. So I'm ready if you're ready.
I am ready, and I'm as excited as can be because I've been listening to some of your other shows. Great podcast, by the way. I love what you're up to in the world with that. And I got to say, some of these stories, man, are so moving. So I'm excited to be on here.
That's going to be my favorite part of the show, right? Like the stories behind it. Because, I mean, what do we see on social media? Nailed another gig, nailed another client, did this, I'm a millionaire, I'm this. But they don't see, like, you scratching your head going, what the heck, right? And trying to figure it all out and then overcoming and battling and, like, the uphill climbs. Like, nobody sees that stuff. And so, you know, we all got here somehow. And I love the fact that I have a platform that I can pull out those stories, you know, and say, dude, you're not the only one that's dealing with XYZ. Like, you're not the only one who has felt this way. So it's okay. Just keep on going. Yeah. That's what I love.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant, and I'm excited about, as we talked a little bit in our green room chat, is I don't know that my story is as dramatic as some of your other guests, but I hope that it will still be inspiring to some people.
Yeah, you know, one thing I've noticed is that you never know what people are battling with. You never know what people are struggling with, and something you say might open some doors, unlock potential. So, like, something might unlock a block, and you just never know. That's the beauty of podcasting, right? I mean, you never know what one thing you say might change someone's life.
Yep, you're spot on.
Awesome. So this episode is titled Consciously Speaking with Michael Neeley. Michael Neeley is a mentor and business strategist for visionary solopreneurs. He is a former professional actor and medieval knight. We're going to dig into that for sure. An author and speaker, and he hosts the podcast Consciously Speaking, and soon to be released By This, Not That. His passion is waking people up, and he does it by coaching heart-centered entrepreneurs in finding their gift, growing their voice, and stepping into the spotlight in a big way. You can learn more about him at www.michaelneeley, Neeley, michaelneeley.com, and sign up for a discovery session to see if Michael is the perfect mentor that you've been searching for, which I know he will be. There's also a link that he's provided, and it's www.bit.ly, so the Bitly links, if you aren't familiar with those. So bit.ly/YAB live. And what you can do is you can go on there and you have a coupon code LTR100, and it gives you $100 off of the live event that he has coming up. So definitely go ahead and check that out. Again, bit.ly/YAB live. You get $100 off if you use the coupon code LTR100. So I definitely want to talk about like what your why is, like, because I mean, Medieval Knight, like why a Medieval Knight, but it's just what sticks out, right? I mean, that's what I love, man. It's so not like every day, and it's like so different. You know what I mean? That's what I absolutely love. So above all, what is your why for everything that you do?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Sean, because for me it's changed over time, and I think that's part of the transformation that I've gone through. And so, I've got the why that I'm up to now, and then I have the why that I was up to back then. But let's start with, I guess, just now why I do what I do is that I feel like I'm on a mission to wake up the planet, to wake people up to different ways of being, because sometimes how we make a choice, we head down a road, and this particular road we're heading down, I'm talking about humanity, that we're heading down this road that may not be the good road to be on. And so I want to wake people up to some alternative possibilities. And I do that through my show, Consciously Speaking. And I also do that now by helping other people who have a big message to help wake up the planet, to help them get their word out to the world as well. So that's my big why.
I love it, man. Absolutely love it. So let's talk about that transformational moment. I believe that everybody goes through something, and like Mothers Against Drunk Driving gets started because the mother's daughter was killed by a drunk driver.
Mm-hmm.
Rape advocates become that because they themselves, experienced a rape or a sexual assault. I'm a suicide awareness trainer because I went through my own suicidal ideations and attempts, earlier in life. So I became a suicide awareness trainer. Tell me who you were before you got to this point right now. Look back 5, 10, 15, however many years. Who was Michael Neeley before the podcast, before the speaking?
Yeah, you know what? Let's go back more than 15 years. Let's take it back to when I was in 4th grade.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is just when I got bit by the acting bug. And so I remember I was in 4th grade, and we were just doing a reading of The Prince and the Pauper, the play. And we were going to do it just like a little classroom production of it. And I remember I was playing like fourth spear from the left. I had no lines. We were just supposed to stand there. I may have one line said, "Who goes there?" But during the rehearsal process, the kid who was playing the pauper could not for the life of him remember his lines. And what was funny is during the rehearsal process, just hearing it all over and over again, I memorized it. It's just I had a really good, ear for learning lines. And so when the day before the performance came, the teacher was going to cancel because she's like, "You can't remember the lines. We can't do the show if you don't remember your lines." And she said, "We're going to cancel the production." And I raised my hand and I said, "I know the lines." And her jaw fell open and she's like, "Really? All right, you've got the role." And so we switched. And at that point forward, I was hooked. I wanted to be an actor. So that's when it all started. My why was I wanted to perform in front of people. I wanted to please people through acting, through doing work like that. And so that's what ultimately led me to get my degrees in acting. And then the jousting came about from that. I used to joust and sword fight for a living with Medieval Times Dinner and Tournament for for 6
like
years
in Florida,
straight.
like Vegas, the dinner thing, right?
Yep. I started at the one in Southern California. Yeah. So I did that for 6 years, and then after that, I started doing soap opera work. But I continued to joust for the New York Renaissance Fair during the summers for another 6 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was, a lot of people hear that about me, and it kind of blows them away. That's how many people have that on their resume as a profession. I used to joust and sword fight for a living.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that, took me around the country a little bit. I opened the locations for them in different spots around the country. And then I was still pursuing when I finished that, I was pursuing film and television work. I worked on The Patriot with Mel Gibson and For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner. And here I was in LA.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a totally fun career. I mean, I loved being an actor. But then here was that moment, that kind of that pivotal spot was my son was born. And this was 2002. And I knew that, the life of an actor, it's kind of, unless you're a cemented A-list actor or something, you're going to have hills and valleys. You might make a lot of money 1 month and then not work for 3 months. And so I decided I didn't want to, continue and raise a family in that kind of a lifestyle. And I also didn't want to live in Los Angeles anymore in the smog. And so we moved to Santa Cruz, California, and I shifted careers. And quite honestly, I floundered for a while before I landed ultimately in what I'm doing now. And so that was kind of, the transformation was really my son's birth.
Oh, wow. So that was that moment wow. I love that, man. Yeah, I've got a couple kids myself, and they just, man, they change everything you thought you were going to do.
They sure do, don't they?
So what brought you forward? What was that path that you took? That transformational moment was really the child being born and all that, and then what made you take this path of podcasting, speaking, and what you're doing today?
Well, it was kind of a combination of things, Sean, and one of those again relates a little bit back to the acting. Was as an actor, and having a degree in it, I really studied it and took it to heart, and so character study was important to me. The human psyche was important to me, and so I was doing all this other type of work around my own personal development, the ontology, the study of being. And as I learned more of that, then when I stopped acting, I had all this skill set, and it made me really observant of any of the careers. And for a while, I got into the pharmaceutical industry, and I was in that for a few years. And even in it, I was like watching and tracking the psychology of people and why we do what we do and how we do it and all of this process. And it really started me to develop an idea for the book that I have coming out called the book is called The Art of Forgetting. See, I totally forgot the book title even. But I started working on this book of applying all these things that I learned, and that kind of made the shift where then I started coaching. And as I started coaching, then I was recording a session with a client, and he suggested that I start a podcast because it sounded really good. Mm-hmm. And so then I transitioned into adding the podcast to my mix. And of course, that's grown tremendously since then. And then I just started adding, teaching and coaching entrepreneurs on also how to podcast and do other things to grow their career. So it kind of it was just kind of, I don't know even how to describe it, but it just kind of gelled slowly but surely and morphed into this path that I'm on now.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, so I started out with a book, and then it kind of just morphed in because I see what everybody else is doing, right? I mean, everybody's got a book, and then it's kind of the evolution of things, right? And I never thought that I kind of listen to podcasts sometimes, but I really never was. And then, it seemed like, the next evolution. And then once I got it in my heart that I'm going to do this, like I started researching and how amazing and the audience that you can reach. I'm like, I'm hooked. Like, I got to do this. And then it led me to you and speaking or being on a panel at New Media Summit. So speaking of your book, I'm going to bring Richard on the line real quick. Richard has a question about your book and a question about entrepreneurship. Richard, thank you for calling, man.
Yeah. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good.
Doing well.
Yourself?
Good. Yeah. So I'm really interested in the book. I've actually been thinking about starting my own, podcast, and And one of the things that I've been thinking about was, kind of keeping my audience small. But I was just curious, if that's kind of what you recommend and how you think about the entrepreneurship and the podcast, kind of with thinking about the audience. Should it be big or small?
Sean, do you want to field that, or do you want me to take this one?
Go ahead, man. He called for you.
All right, cool. Okay. I would say don't worry about the size of your audience. The only time I would really concern myself ever with audience size is if there's some reason that I need to monetize it a certain way. Like if I'm planning to make money from it, and then even then you can make good money from a small audience if they're paying more, or maybe if you're charging a lot less, you need a larger audience. But with taking money out of the equation, just focus on your message and be true to who you are, and then the right audience will find you and let them make that decision. And it might be big and it might be small, but as long as you're delivering the message that's true to your heart, you're golden.
Thank you
Richard,
so much. By the way,
yeah. Hey,
I was just going to say, I really enjoyed your movies, and I loved you in Happy Gilmore. That was amazing.
Hey,
that's funny. Must have been a joke there.
Was that, I never.
Kevin Neeley, right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Hey,
Kevin Nealon in Happy Gilmore?
Well, I'm not Kevin Nealon, but he was in Happy Gilmore.
Oh, you weren't in Weeds and Wedding Singer?
No.
Hey, Richard, a question about the podcast, which saying about your audience. So, you never know what people are battling with or struggling with, and they might hear something on your show. And Michael and I were talking about this. You never know what people are battling with, and you might have a guest on your show, or if you don't have guests, so you never know what people are battling with, struggling with, and they might hear something on your show, and it changes their life. So, I wouldn't be too concerned about the audience. But hey, thanks for calling in, man. Really appreciate it. So, Michael. So let's go back to the transformation part, man. I really want to focus on that. What do you think was the best part about that transformational moment? What do you think was the defining, the silver lining in that?
It's weird because it happened over kind of like such a spread, like a slow transformation that I don't. It's almost hard for me to find like what a silver lining per se was, but I guess the best thing about it in general, the takeaway today looking back at it, was that I love my life where I'm at now. I love what I'm doing so much more, and I think it was a great decision to bring my son up here to Santa Cruz outside of Los Angeles to raise him. So I guess those would be the best pieces that, the results of it that I really enjoy.
Awesome. So what was the worst part about it? I feel like, we have to talk about the good and bad. So what do you think was the worst part about it?
Dude, I floundered for a while. And I'm not talking, like month, 2 months. I floundered for several years before I finally landed upon this. And one of the things that I've done some work in is part of my ontological study is, purpose. Like, what are we here to do? Why am I doing what I do? And so one of the things I struggled with was, here's a kid who in 4th grade decided I wanted to be an actor. Okay. So I spend my life pursuing that dream. I get my degrees in it. I start making, movies. I start doing work on stage. I'm doing all this stuff and I'm loving that. And then at some point I go, I'm not going to do this anymore. Something that you've done or wanted to do all your life. It's like, then what do you do? And so literally I floundered like, okay, well, I took a job in advertising. I took a job in the pharmaceutical industry. Two things. I got involved with a startup company in the tech world. And then from that, we branched off and I formed my own tech company. And all the while, the underlying thing in the background was this niggle in my mind that says, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You need to be doing this other work. You need to be spreading this message. You need to be, helping others to spread their message. But it took a good 7 years before that before that solidified. So.
Oh, that's awesome. So I want to bring on Bob. Bob is calling in from Australia. How's it going, Bob?
Well, it's awesome, mate. It's 20 to 9 in the morning on Thursday. It's 30 degrees centigrade. Beautiful pastel blue sky with a few white fluffy clouds. This is paradise, my friend.
I love it.
And that's why I live here. And Michael, for me, there are no coincidences. This is just another synchronistic event. So if I can just share a bit of background to put things in perspective, how can I put it? I've had an awesome life. I was suffering from depression since about 1984, and the mind was trying to find a way through. And I suddenly realized, being a slow learner, that the pain of depression that I was feeling was not my pain. It was the pain of just a natural, loving person having to live in such an unhuman society, a corrupt, evil, dangerous society. So once I could put a boundary around that, I healed myself from depression. And it's like it was a spiritual wake-up call. It was my heart and soul slapping my mind and saying, time to live your truth. So up here in the Whitsundays, and I'm 65 now, but I became a commercial skipper, a ship's captain, master and commander. And the first time I took a boat out, the penny dropped. I thought, bugger, Bob, I am totally responsible for everything that happens on this vessel. The safety and lives of the passengers, the safety of the vessel, everything. The buck stops here. And then a light bulb went on. And what I did was I applied that ideology to the whole of my life. So now I am master and commander of my life. And I take full responsibility for everything that happens in my life. And
that's great.
So I'm creating my life. And as an example, March the 23rd last year, Cyclone Debbie came through here. And I was living on a boat. And the cyclone took my home away, took everything away. I managed to save myself and my 2 dogs. You probably hear one's playing with his squeaky toy in the background. And people go, oh, Bob, poor old Bob, and you've lost everything. But for me, I created that event, for there was a lesson that I needed to learn from that event. And the lesson I learned from that event was to totally let go of the attachment to things. And and also, it was awesome to experience Mother Nature when she's at her most bold and brassy. But now in my life, and I won't carry on for much longer, thanks for your time, is that as master and commander of my life, I thought, well, what's my life purpose? Well, I am master. I would set my life purpose. And I set my life purpose to be to simply find my own truth. And I've been doing personal work since about 1990. So bang, I've got the big one out the way. I've set my own life purpose to simply find my own truth, to reclaim the authentic me. And then the second one was, well, as a spiritual being having a human experience, how do I want to experience my life? So I set my own conscious life intention. And that is, I am here to have a gentle, joyful, loving, and abundant life. Now that I am here to have is really important because it's my direct command to the universe, to source, to tell what I want. It's my command. But also it's my address to the universe so the universe knows where to deliver it. So since I set that conscious life intention, that is precisely how my life is unfolding. It's like I'm just sitting back and I know that whatever unfolds for me will align with my conscious life intention. And I review my day and see it in action every day. But it took a leap of faith, Michael. It took a leap of faith. And I'll just close with this little story. Thank you for your time.
Get about another minute or so. Okay.
Well, I'll connect with you on Facebook, Michael. I'm
Yeah.
looking at your page now. But thanks for what you're doing. And what I've come to realize is that all I have is my own truth, my own story, and the only person that it is valid for is me.
That's
I
right.
just hope that by sharing my story, it will resonate with other people. I cannot wake anybody else up. That's their job. All I can do is let my light shine, and that's my approach anyway. So thanks, guys. Keep up the good work, and if you're ever in the Whitsundays, look me up. We'll go sailing.
Got it. Hey, thank you for that, Bob. And I got to say that, you know what, just letting your light shine will wake some people up. So keep at it.
It does. It does it. I see it daily, mate.
Yep. Beautiful.
Thanks, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So
love it.
So moving forward, I want to talk about the mentors and influencers and stuff that you've had. So who do you think has been your biggest influence in your life?
Man, you know, there have been so many. I guess I should probably just nail it down to a couple of them. You know, a big one for me was Tony Robbins. Like early on, I started studying, you know, just our ways of being through him. And then I did, you know, the full landmark education curriculum, which I thought was super helpful. And then philosophically, you know, I follow Buddhist philosophy, which, by the way, I don't even consider that a religion, but a way of living. And so, you know, I follow that as well. And so those have been some of the biggest influencers in my life, really.
Oh, that's awesome. So what I've noticed is a lot of people, once you get, I guess, to a higher level, they're like, well, who's your mentor? You know, who's your mentor? Like, I didn't even realize that Tony Robbins has coaches. I thought Tony Robbins was the coach, and that's completely not true. Like, he has coaches. He has people, you know, directing his steps, and he has people, like, you know, all over the place, you know, setting up events and connecting here and doing, like, all this behind-the-scenes stuff that nobody really sees. And I think that we need that. So how does one, you know, it said in your bio, you know, how does one find the perfect mentor, or why should someone even have a mentor?
Well, I think we need mentors all the time. And just to tie a little story even back into the acting world, I remember, you know, one of the things you would always say, it was just kind of like a common question when you're in college is like, what's your major? You know, when you were an actor, it would be a common question among actors, who are you studying with? And the reason it was a common question is because you were always studying with somebody. And I could tell immediately either an amateur or an actor who was never going to go too far if I would ask them who they were studying with, and they'd say, oh, nobody, I've already done all my studying. I would immediately just go, okay, you're probably not going to get very far in this business. And you'll find that even the great actors are still studying with somebody. And just like you said, you know, Tony Robbins has mentors in certain areas of his life. So I think it's important to find the one who's traveled the path that you want to travel, that they've traveled it in front of you so that they can point out, here are the pitfalls. Watch out when you step there. Here's a shortcut to get to where we're going. You know, that's the kind of mentor you want. And then, of course, you want it to be someone who can deliver that in a method that matches for you, because I know, you know, my wife is also a coach to business people, and she's a mentor, the Badass Boss mentor. And for her, she speaks in a very feminine setting, and she, you know, her clients are almost all women. And a lot of what I do may have a bit more of a masculine approach. And so for some women, they may not like that, but some of them might. And so it really is going to boil down to finding the person who you can hear, who can, you know, point you in the right direction because they've already blazed that trail before you.
Right. So if someone hasn't actually had a mentor, but, you know, maybe learned from some people along the way, you know, maybe wasn't coached formally, or, you know, just, hey, man, don't do that. That's dumb. Like, do this. And then, you know, they move down and then they climb in the ladder, and, you know, at each rung, they found somebody else going, hey, don't do that. That's dumb. And really, you know, kept them on the right path. Is it different than just having a bunch of influencers rather than having a one-on-one or a group coach or a mentor?
Well, yeah, it can be different in a lot of ways. And I kind of boil it down to this. There are people who are highly self-motivated, and then there are those who really need some external source to keep them juiced. And so a lot of times, if someone falls into that category, a good mentor is important to have because you want somebody there as your cheerleader, someone holding you accountable and making, sure that you do stuff, and to, help you in those moments when you get discouraged, because the entrepreneurial path can be fraught with, little missteps and discouragement. And so sometimes it's good to have a mentor who acts a bit as a cheerleader. And if you're just pulling the stuff piecemeal here and there, you'll probably find that while, yes, it may work because you're a self-starter, it's still going to take you a lot longer. And so just let me put this into a real-world story for you with my wife, because it's so recent and relevant.
Awesome.
She hired a mentor last year for $30,000 a year. And
wow.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, are you sure? As you can imagine. So she's like,
right?
I am sure. And working with that mentor has helped her to double her income. And she's on track to double it again next year, because that's the type of mentor she got. Someone who really had, they've blazed the trail. And so she's learning from someone who's already doing what it is that she wants to be doing. And it speeds things up exponentially, and it makes it worth every dime too.
Yeah.
When she goes from making $60,000 one year to $100,000 the next, and then this year when she just doubled it with this mentor, she went from $100,000 to over $200,000. And yeah, maybe she paid $30,000 for a mentor to help her get there, but come on, the
ROI was worth it.
Totally.
Oh yeah, like doubled it. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
I talk to or post. We always have social media conversations about this. And one of the things that when I'm talking to somebody, like somebody will message me or something. Hey, I saw your TEDx talk, or hey, I saw that you're a speaker. I really want to be a speaker. And so we're talking, and then when I find a moment, I hit them with it. Say, hey, if you'd like a mentor, I'd love to work with you and walk alongside you. Oh, that'd be great. What do you charge? I tell them the price, and they're like, do I really need a mentor? I'm like, well, you can figure it out on your own if you'd like, or you can use the online university called YouTube, or you can Google anything you want to know. But how do you know if you're implementing it correctly? How do you know that this is the exact path because the world of Google, if I literally says, how do you build a speaking business? If I just Google that, you would have at least 5 to 10 different things that people would tell you to do. You don't need a one sheet. Yeah, you do need a one sheet. You don't need a website. Yeah, you do need a website. You don't need that. Yeah, you do need this. Hey, you didn't. No, you don't need that. It's like, it's not one size fits all in entrepreneurship. It's really not.
Right.
So, what works for, like, I've done Facebook ads exactly the way I learned to do them from somebody who, like, amazing, like, blows up Facebook ads. I didn't get crap. And they're like, wow, that's kind of weird. And I literally, she's like, write this and then send it and let me know what you did. And literally, I copy paste what she sent me, put it into a Facebook ad. I'm doing exactly, click here, do this, boom. And then 2 days later, I'm like, here's my stuff. Do a screenshot of it and send it to her. She's like, that's it? Like, that's the only engagement? I'm like, I guess. This is so crazy. Like, I'm telling you, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you this is what works, and just do this. And then, So I believe that the perfect mentor will guide you through all of the pitfalls, like you said. I think you nailed it. Yep.
Well, and Sean, let me add a little something to that touches on what you just used as an example. Is look at it like this: if when we're looking at an iceberg, we see what's above the water, okay? And that's if you want to model somebody else and do what they're doing, you can replicate the stuff, but you're replicating what you see above the water. Well, about 90% of an iceberg's mass is under the water. And so that's the kind of stuff that you're going to get from working with a mentor. You're going to learn, well, what is all of the reasoning? What are the fine little details that make what you see above work so well? Because if you just try to mimic it, it's not going to do the same for you. I mean, it might on occasion to a little degree, but not nearly as much as if you get the underlying structure that supports it.
Yep, absolutely. So this is one of my most favorite questions to ask. What's the first thing that you would do if you had to start all over again? You lost all the money, the podcast shut down, like you literally moved to a new city, didn't know anybody, but you had the knowledge that you've gained over the years. What was the first thing you do if you had to start over?
If I had to start over right now, and I'm at the same age that I'm at right now, I don't get to backtrack any
Same knowledge.
years. Okay.
Nope.
Dang.
Nope. Yep. Same knowledge, everything.
Okay.
You lose all the contacts, the podcasts, the websites. Like you're starting completely from scratch.
I would start with building a good network of friends who are people who are already doing what I want to be doing. And
I love it.
Yeah, and if it makes that any clearer, because here's the thing about it is like, you know, right now my friend base, as I believe anybody's in their lives, especially if they've moved around a bit or changed careers or anything, their friend base changes. And I feel like right now, especially with what I'm doing and what I would want to continue to do if I had to start it all over, it would be immersed in this realm of networking. It's like you may have heard the expression, your net worth is your network, or the reverse of that. Your network forms your network.
Well, they say that your network is equal to your net worth, and your net worth equals your network.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's where I would start. I would start with the right network. And that I think that would exponentially make everything else, you know, fall into place and grow more quickly. You know, so that's what I would do.
Amazing. And it kind of speaks to, you know, oh man, it blows my mind. People try to reinvent the wheel. Don't reinvent
Right.
the wheel. Like if you want to be successful at anything you want to do, find someone who is making the money you want to make, doing what you want to do and love, and is building and following the path that you want to take. Just follow them, which you could just ask them, like, hey, would you want to mentor me? Like, I want to, you know, and you said build a network, like, but it's all about relationships, all about people. You didn't say, well, first you need a website. You got to have a website. They got to take a loan out. You didn't say any of that.
No.
But that's what people do. They take out second mortgages on their house and they max out credit cards and it's just like, what are you doing? Get in a mastermind. I love masterminds. That's huge, getting in a mastermind, because you have all walks of life, all different perspectives. And says, whoa. Like my speaker coach is John Vroman. John Vroman is an amazing dude. We just had a call the other day, and here's what I was thinking. I was like, man, it's like I really want to send these like postcards to people, but I heard that doesn't quite work, like brochures and stuff, like about me, like not like a one sheet, but like I really, what if this would work? And he literally was like, dude, please, don't do that. Like that's so bad. Like he said that he spent like $3,000, like his last $3,000 on sending brochures to colleges. And he said that he got maybe 2 callbacks, a few emails, 0 booked paid engagements.
Wow.
He's like, don't do that. Somebody told me to do that. And then my mentor, the very next mentor I got, said, no, you did it. John's like, yeah, man, I really did. He's like, that's so stupid. So that's the stuff you're talking about. Don't do the stupid stuff. Find out what everybody's doing and start following along, but making it a part of you. They don't copy someone else, but like make it your own stuff. You know, put your own little, you know, whatever flair on it. You know, so I like that you didn't say go get a loan, go start a website, get a loan. So
no, and the thing is, Sean, it's like, you know, people can get out there and they can try to replicate what other people are doing, but the truth is, if you do replicate, you're probably going to also replicate their mistakes along the way.
Yes.
And it's like you just said, you know, this guy could have saved. Had he learned it sooner, he could have saved himself $3,000 or whatever it cost him to do all that.
Yep.
Big mailing. And similarly, a good mentor is going to save you more than what you pay them simply by keeping you from making the same costly mistakes that they made somewhere along the way. And that's, you know, one of the big payoffs of it. The return on investment is the most important piece, and that's one that you'll get right away without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think is one of the best resources that you've used during your journey?
You know, if you'd asked me that a year ago, it probably would have been different than it is today. And so I'm going to say today, podcast. I mean, I learned so much about anything I want to learn about just tuning into different podcasts, and it keeps me current and up to date because, you know, they're talking about this stuff now, like, you know, what's going on in the industry and what's going on in the world. And so I think podcasts are a great resource to use.
Absolutely. What would you have said a year or 2 or 5 years ago?
Gosh, probably a year ago or two, I would have said, you know, Google or the website, you know, just doing that kind of stuff, researching to see what you can learn. Right. But again, it's kind of like what we just talked about, you know, and you nailed it on the head earlier when you said there is nothing that you're going to learn that you can't find for free on the internet. I'll just be really frank with you about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the truth is, it's like, why do it the hard way? I mean, you got to research your stuff and then go, well, did this really work? Or is this just because you read it on the internet doesn't make it true as much as we might like to think so. So some of the stuff you're going to read about is going to send you astray. So why not, instead of you doing all that groundwork and labor and research and all that, which is what I started out doing a few years back, go to the source and learn. And if you don't mind, I could even just share a quick little story on that.
Sure.
When I first launched, okay, good. Well, when I first launched Consciously Speaking, prime example, I did it because I was recording a session with the client. He said, this sounds, you know, well, we were having some aha moments. And I said, do you mind if I record it? He was cool with that. And so we played it back after, and he said, you should start a podcast. And Sean, I didn't even know what a podcast was. I'd never listened to one in my life. I mean, I knew the word, but I didn't know how they worked, what one was. Within 2 weeks, I launched, though. That's how easy it was to get one up and running. 2 weeks later, I've got a live show. But now here's the deal. I got it because I went on Google and I started searching some stuff, and I, you know, figured out, oh, okay, here's how you put up a podcast. And I got my podcast up, and I was releasing an episode about every 7 to 10 days, very sporadic. And then about a month or two later, I'm 10 episodes in, and I hear a mentor, someone who teaches podcasting, and I'm going, wait a minute. So this is what a podcast could be. And so I signed up with that mentor, and I shut my show down. And a month later, I relaunched as a 7-day-a-week show. And that's the show that you talk about now that people keep seeing in the top 100 on iTunes. And it's had, you know, approaching 2 million downloads. It's because I got a mentor and then stopped making the same fool mistakes I started making by just searching on my own on Google. So that's my story.
Yeah, you know, I will never not use Google. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, don't use Google and you're crazy, you got to get a mentor. Like, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying, that will only take you so far, right? And think about if your wife was like, ooh, $30,000, ooh, I don't know, that's a lot of money. Like, I don't think I'll do that. No, she wouldn't have doubled her income.
Right.
You know, it's really easy to look on it now and say, well, a year ago, you would have done this and done this and this, you know. But that's where you have to trust yourself and say, look, I'm going to do this, you know. And if this guy is, you know, guaranteeing, promising he's this, that, and the other, whatever, you know, and says what he can do, then, I mean, if I said, hey, you give me $100, I'll give you $1,000 right now, you take that deal every time.
Oh, hell yeah.
But you got to put the work in to go from 30,000 to 200,000. You got to put the work in, and not get everything handed to you. That's just my thing.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And if you're offering $1,000 for 100, I'll take you up on that right now.
maybe later in my entrepreneurial career.
Okay.
So what do you enjoy most about what you do now?
I love working with people. And just, you know, helping them to see results. I mean, that excites me. It's like, okay, I had a part, however small, in someone else reaching their success. And, you know, part of it is right now I also offer a course on podcasting. And so to have somebody get their podcast launched, I mean, that excites me. And
oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely. So talk about where you're headed now. You know, what kind of things you got going on. You got a new podcast coming up and books. And and whatnot.
Yeah.
Tell everybody kind of where you're headed, new businesses, adventures, family stuff, you know?
Well, this is an interesting one that I think you know will really land home for you as well, because you know how this podcasting thing that we do. I mean, you and I, we're connected via the internet right now. I don't get to see you face to face, and we're kind of like we do this from the quiet of our own little studio with no one else around, and I miss face to face. You know, because I was an actor for so many years, and I was used to performing on stages and being in front of people, and so. Right now, what I've got going on, and you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, is I have a live event coming up in June, and it's called Your Authority Blueprint Live, and it's going to be happening in Monterey, California on June 25th, 26th, and 27th. 3-day training. And this event is geared towards the big thing that I'm excited about right now, and that is building someone's authority. You know, how to take them from being kind of like the best kept secret, like they may be really good at what they do, but they're not the authority. They're not the go-to person. And so this event is about how to build that. And I teach the 4 foundational pillars of authority, which are podcasting, virtual summits, speaking from stage, and authoring your own book. And through those 4 things, as I'm sure you well know, because you've got a lot of those under your belt as well, that sets you apart to where you become known as the go-to expert. And so this event, Your Authority Blueprint Live, will have people who participate in this who will walk away with their own customized blueprint of how they can build those things sequentially in their own business so that they can then, it really creates an exponential compound kind of effect, because you could have any one of those things and it will certainly help you to grow some business. But when you put all 4 of those in tandem, it's amazing what the world will open up to you. And so I'm doing that event in June, and I'm real excited about it. And I was excited that, to offer to your listeners that discount. And so just real quickly, I'll let them know you can get the event for free. It's $197 for a seat deposit, which you will get back when you show up at the door. Now, here's the thing. With the coupon code that Sean talked about, LTR100, you can actually get that seat deposit for just $97. And you just show up at the door, you get your $97 back. But you need to commit. And so that's the thing. It's, we talk about this whole bit of seeking out some new information and a mentor. You got to commit to this and show up, and you will walk away with some great, valuable information and some steps to put you into the path to really get your message out there. So that's what I'm up to now.
I love it, man. Yeah, I just in December delivered a TEDx talk, dream come true, and I had 3 dreams: TEDx, Vegas, and Australia. And in January, I spoke at an authority maker, how to become an authority. I spoke at an event talking about how to do that, and I talked about how you do it with podcast. Get on podcast, because seemingly, people realize that when you're on media, on TV, when they hear you on the radio, when you get up, like TEDx, when you're on these platforms, it's like you've made it. Like you've done something in your life that says, look at me, I have something to offer you, and I mean, that was like, to me, the mountaintop, to be TEDx is like the pinnacle. Like, that's it. Like, I guess you can't get any further, but you can't, that's thousands of people, tens of thousands of people are subscribed to YouTube for TEDx and TED events. So that was huge. But man, becoming an authority and leveraging today's media, we talked about the podcasts. And if you were to go to Haro, I tell everybody, go to Haro. Go to helpareporterout.com, make a profile. It's free. They'll send you emails. That's how I got in entrepreneur.com. That's how I got into Skype. Skype wrote an entire blog post about me because I was deployed in 2013. I used Skype to talk to my family because nothing else worked in the middle of a desert. I was deployed to the Middle East. Skype was the only thing that worked. Believe me, I tried everything. And then come 2016 or 2017, so 2013, 4 years later, I'm using Skype for, to connect to, basically it's the platform behind the platform, but basically it's a Skype program, and that's what I use for my podcast. And the title was from the desert to the airwaves, how an Air Force airman inspires millions. Like, it was about me, like Skype, like the actual company. I was blown away. I was like, wait, like the real Skype, like for real, like not like it's not like Folkley, like the fake glasses you buy in Korea for $10. It's like the real thing, you know. But that would have never happened if I wouldn't have got on Haro, got on a podcast, started doing, putting things out there. Dude, there's so many different ways to do that, to become a story.
Yeah, I mean, let's even look at us talking right now. Okay, so we have both been podcasters for a while. We met face-to-face as icons of influence at New Media Summit. We would never have been there had we not built our podcasts up.
Yep.
And so it's little stuff like that just, it starts, and I also like to be very realistic and transparent with people. It's not this overnight success thing. It's like you used the words earlier, you got to put in the work. But if you put in the work and you do it wisely, and especially if you compound these things like having your own book and speaking from stage, all of these things intertwine to build your success in a phenomenal way, that stuff starts coming out of the woodwork. Like, the story you just shared, Sean. I mean, it's like this stuff happens, but you lay the groundwork. And so hopefully people can come to my live event and learn how to do this in an easeful way. So,
yeah. Tell us when and where the live event will take place.
Yeah, so it's going to be June 25, 26, 27, and that is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's going to be at the Monterey Tides Hotel in Monterey, California. Now, the Monterey Tides Hotel is oceanfront, so this is not some little podunk, hotel somewhere.
Get your checkbook.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually very reasonable here. But I'm also saying this because here's the deal is I treat every person who's coming to the event like you have already arrived. The event is themed a celebration. And so literally we're going to celebrate your success because we envision it. You've already got it when you walk through the door. It's a done deal. And so we want to do it in a nice place right there in the ocean. You get to, if you want to, stay an extra day before or after. And enjoy the beautiful scenery. It's going to be beautiful weather there in Monterey that time of year. And we'll even be having, for people who show up Sunday night, we're going to have a cocktail party in advance as well. So June 25, 26, 27. Boom. Yeah, boom, Monterey, California.
There you go. So, Michael, as we wrap up, can you deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action?
No pressure on that one, huh, Sean?
You've heard the show.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing is kind of like what, I said to the caller that we had on earlier, is be true to your own voice, and get that message out there. I believe every one of us has some message to get out to the world. And I think it's so important to be true to your message and not to worry about, like his question was, do I go for a big audience, small audience? Don't worry about that. And as a matter of fact, I want to take that a step further. Don't worry about people hating you. The worst thing that you should worry about is people being mediocre about you. And so if you try to make your message, dial it in to where it's going to please the masses, you're going to please nobody. Be true to your message. And yes, some people will hate you, but then some people are going to absolutely love you. Don't worry about polarizing them. Just stick to your message and deliver it truthfully.
I love it, man. Yep, absolutely. So we always close the show with a call to action. And we gave a bunch, Go
right.
Go to the, in the show notes, there's the bit.ly link, www.bit.ly/YAB as in Bravo, YAB live. Get your coupon code LTR100. It gives you $100 off the live event. And go to Michael Neeley, Neeley, michaelneeley.com. Connect with him. All the social media links are in there. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can follow his podcast, Consciously Speaking, at facebook.com/ConsciousSpeak, and at Twitter. What else? Give us a call to action. What should someone do today?
Well, if they're interested in podcasting, I have a free report available on my website and also a free webinar if that's something that interests them. So I like to give away a lot of free stuff. The free discovery call, you can find access to that as well. If someone just wants to find out, like if they've got a message that's ready to be gotten out to the world. So I'm happy to spend 30 minutes on the phone with you. It's not, I got to say, some people who do these discovery calls are like little sales pitches. Mine is not. It's 30 minutes of delivery of just answering your questions and helping to, hopefully guide you down the right path. So I'm happy to give that to your listeners as well.
I love that, man. Dude, thank you so much. This has been a really cool episode. We had a guy from Australia call in, Bob. I mean, that was super cool. That
was awesome.
So, I mean, international radio show right here. This is like, it warms my heart that people from all over the world are listening and calling in. So I just want to thank you so much, man, for being an amazing dude. I learned a lot just, from the panel that you were on over at New Media Summit. I'm heading back in April. Hopefully see you there. And, keep crushing it, man. Keep rocking it.
Thanks. And likewise, Sean, I love what you're up to in the world. This show is fantastic. And, anything I can ever do to be of support to you, you just call me because you are up to good work in the world, my friend.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
You got it.
So Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing episode, another amazing guest. Oh my gosh, this show. If anything resonated with you, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, TuneIn, Player FM, Google Play Music app. Subscribe to the show. Do not miss a moment. Join our Facebook Live community. Go check out Michael Neeley's show, Consciously Speaking. It's in iTunes top 200 for a reason. Go check it out. So as we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the values that you have deep in your heart. And I call that living your brand. And until next episode, have a great night.